Alrighty, and we are live. Hello, everybody. Good day, good evening. Whenever you're catching this, some of you don't catch it live. I want to start out by saying thank you so much for sharing your energy with me. And I am grateful that our um, law of attraction has guided us to one another because nothing in life is an accident. Um, what is unique about today is both of my animals got Pepper there. That's one of her favorite spots in the RV. Um, she's so beautiful. And then we also have, maybe we'll just see the bottom. We've got buttermilk today too. So we got some extra yummy energy here. A couple of things before I jump into today's live. And today's live is about friendship, the gift of friendship, the definition of friendship, the essence of friendship. How do we balance friends in our lives? How do we potentially reclaim some power? Maybe you have in some friendships. I know for myself, I had many years of pain and needless sadness associated to relationships, more specifically friendships. And at the root of that, I know there's a direct correlation with the amount of love in which I'm able to experience for myself is going to be in direct proportion to the amount of love, which is ultimately going to be at the root of a friendship that I'm able to experience in another. But before we jump into that, I wanted to remind everybody or share with everybody, I made a video just yesterday, and it's titled, I Bought Some Slime, Healing Your Inner Child. I've still been, maybe it was a couple days ago, I am still playing with the slime. It has been something that I've done in the evenings, more specifically, like when I'm getting home from work and unwinding. But the intention around the video is more, I don't want to say metaphoric, but slime for me, when I was watching a video of this individual playing with some slime, Pepper, everybody, something ignited inside of me. And I refer to it as an inner child, some part of myself that as a child wasn't able to gain access to some slime. Whether that be because my parents said no, or I gave myself a limitation based off of some sort of perception. And so I can guarantee that there is some form of slime in your life, whether that's trying a new food restaurant. It could be just, another one for me is I remember going to like the river and being on the bank of the river and just wanting to scream, hello, so loud. And I know that my parents would have absolutely not allowed that. You're not disruptive towards others. And there was something inside of me, some energy that needed to get moved. And little kids, they just scream all the time and, do different things. They are more in their natural essence than most of us. So check that out, because I think it will help. It will bring some joy to you, because it did for me. And I can guarantee that there's some sort of slime in your life that you can go manifest. And not everything has to be bought. All right. So something else I got this week. I don't know if you are aware of the brand Topo Chico. They have the best. I love their seltzer water, their bubbly water. And this week I noticed they have a blueberry and hibiscus. You know, eerily similar to LaCroix. There's not a huge difference. Like if this wasn't a different, the one thing I will say is different about this is the liquid is blue. Like if you were to massacate some blueberries in some liquid, that's kind of what it looks like. But you know, I'm grateful for it. It doesn't, really live up to the Topo Chico brand for me. All right. What else? Oh, I just wanted to remind everybody that on Thursdays as well, I do go live and do live channeled readings. And you can contact me through my website. My website, I do not believe is below currently, but I will add it in the description box. Contact me. Say I would like a free 30-minute reading. It is intuitively guided. And what I mean by that is if it feels right, I follow it. So not everybody that's volunteered has gotten a reading, but please, if you feel called to volunteer, please do. All right, so jumping in, what made me want to make this video this week on what is a friend, what creates friendship, is I kept hearing that song. Gosh, that's the guy's name? Okay, I'm gonna play it. It is a song by Randy Newman. Commercials. I don't pay for the, oh, here it is. You got a friend in me. When the road looks rough ahead and you're miles and miles from your nice warm bed, you just remember what your old past said. Boy, you got a friend in me. Yeah. Hi, sweet girl. So that song kept playing in my head, which maybe you already know this, but a common occurrence for someone who's clairaudient, someone who has the gift, a psychic gift that works through their auditory senses. A common symbol for that experience, at least, is getting songs put in your head. All of a sudden, you're like, I don't know where the song came from. It's not like it was on the radio or in the restaurant or wherever you were at existing, but all of a sudden the song is infused. That is coming from your spirit team. And normally, sorry, there is a cat hair I can feel on my eye. And I just can't quite seem to get it. If anybody here owns a cat, they shed, and I have a long-haired cat, so she sheds. So that is a way in which your guides communicate with you. And what I started to do in 2020, because I was getting the same songs over and over in a day, not necessarily in the same sequence, but the same songs, as I started writing down the words. Because sometimes it was a chorus, sometimes it was the first line of a song. Sometimes I didn't even know the song, but I knew the song, but I didn't know the song. And then I would look at the list of quotes that they were singing to me, and it made a story. It had a message in it. And so, albeit this has motivated me to create a video, I know that that is also a message from my guides saying they are there for me through the thick and thin, and they are so devoted to me and they love me so deeply. And why I share that is because you have a spirit team as well, and they love you as deeply. They love you so ferociously and support you so unwaveringly. It's hard for us in the physical human body to comprehend it. So, the definition of a friend. So, we all know the essence of a friend, what it feels like to have a friend. But I'm going to give you the definition of a friend because it lends in what I have learned about friendship in life. My cat is really active right now. Now she's back over here. Come on, Pepperoni. Come on, Pepsi. Get on up there. Good girl. So, friend, it is a noun. A person whom one knows and with whom one has a bond of mutual affection, typically exclusive of sexual or family relations. She's a friend of mine. She's a friend of mine. The second is a member of the Religious Society of Friends, a Quaker. A person who is not an enemy or who is on the same side. A familiar or helpful thing. This is how they define that, a familiar or helpful thing. He settled for that old friend, the compassionate grant. Oh, the compensation grant. I have some dyslexia. A contact associated with a social networking site. All of a sudden, you've got 50 friends online who need to stay connected. Verb. Informal. Add, parenthetically, someone to a list of contacts associated with a social networking site. I am friended by 29 people. All right. I forgot this was another one. A person who acts as a supporter of a cause, organization, or country by giving financial or other help. So, why I share the definition is when I think back to when, let's say prior to 2020, prior to my spiritual awakening, friendships did not come easily. And when I say friendship, I would say I was connecting more to the first definition, a person whom one knows and with whom one has a bond of mutual affection. Really, what I was seeking was connection. It didn't necessarily matter who it was with, albeit I was seeking out specific people, but ultimately, what I felt I was lacking or what was missing was connection, authentic connection. Nope, didn't even need to be authentic. I just wanted to have a connection with people. And I was always chasing people. I was always this is some vulnerability. I am an alcoholic. Many of you know that, many of you may not. And I may make a video on that. I don't know. We'll see. I just make videos where I'm guided to. But I do want to share. Some people ask because they're curious about my alcoholism. And I think that they confuse it maybe with other people's alcoholism in the sense that, you know, if you had one sip, would you like fall off the wagon? Or my alcoholism, albeit it costs me a lot of money, like, because I went to the bar every day, happy hour. Um, it's not, I know people that have lost their careers through multiple DUIs or, you know, my alcoholism there wasn't like an explosion that happened that required me to analyze my relationship with alcohol and make some changes. But my mom's an alcoholic. My father's an alcoholic. I've heard my whole life that alcoholism runs my family. And I will say, I don't think my mother and father would ever say that they're alcoholics. And that's my observation of their relationship with alcohol. But, my sister is also an alcoholic. And there were different experiences in my life where I could see where I was going. I saw the roadmap, I saw the destination before going on the road trip. And in the summer of 2020, I was drinking like first thing in the morning. It was like, oh, well, it's 8 o'clock. Ain't got nothing else to do. Um, and then I started counting alcohol. My go-to was White Claws. I liked White Claws. I still like seltzer water. Um, and it started to get to the point where I'd have a few and I didn't want to drink and drive. And so I would start counting, like, did I have enough to get me through the night? Or did I need to make a run so that I had enough to tide me over? And I was going to the gas station like every day. That's how much I was drinking, was like a case a day to like 12. And so I picked a date. It was August 1st, 2020. And ironically enough, my grandmother died on the 3rd. And I got a call on the 1st actually stating that she wasn't doing well. And I remember driving home to Moses Lake, which is where I'm from, Moses Lake, Washington. It's a booming metropolis, little country town, and negotiating the whole way to Moses Lake. And it's about a 3-hour drive from the Seattle metro area to where I'm from, because I knew other people in my family would be drinking. That's a way of bonding. And uh, I decided the best way to process something is with a clear mind and not muddied by alcohol. And so I stayed true to that August 1st quit day. My grandmother passed on the 3rd, which ironically enough is the birthday of my cat. And there's some knowings that I have about the soul of my grandmother and the soul of my cat. There's a bond there, um, that I think I'll write about in one of the books that I write. So, anyways, when I was drinking, it was not uncommon for me to spend Friday and Saturday night alone, drinking a case of beer or some sort of wine at home alone until I passed out, texting many people, "What are you up to? What are you up to?" Nobody responding because they didn't want to hang out with me. Um, I understand that you watching these videos are going to have an idea of who I am. And no matter how much I tell you who I am, that you're going to have an idea of who I am. But I will say that I'm not the same person I am today as I was even 3 years ago. And I used to have a lot of insecurities and a very low self-esteem and needed a lot of reassurance and validation, and was just rather needy in a lot of ways. And so, I mean, I don't know definitively why certain people didn't want to hang out with me, but those are some characteristics that I can pinpoint that, wouldn't necessarily align with what someone is seeking in a friendship. So, uh, the other thing is when I did have friendships, um, there were many times in the relationships where something would happen, some sort of, maybe they said something that hurt my feelings. Uh, Maybe they did something that hurt my feelings. Maybe there was just a behavior in general that I didn't like, but I never said anything, never did anything, never honored myself in any way. And so uh, there was a suppression of myself. There was a way in which I was showing up in relationships inauthentically. And so there was no way for the relationship to be authentic. And so that's something else that I had to heal for myself. And that's something else we'll talk about today as well. And then another uh, characteristic of the friendships that I had that started to manifest is there were some that I had that I just didn't even want anymore. That the example that I can think of is I had uh, a friendship end in 2021, and I had known this person, I jokingly said, since Pampers. I mean, we went to preschool together, we graduated together, and um, whenever they would come to town to visit me, or maybe we would meet in my hometown, let's say it was over the Christmas holiday or something, and uh, we would hang out, but there would be resistance that I would feel on my end. Annoyance, contempt, even contempt. And I know an aspect of my personality, even on a subconscious level at times, is to feel as if I need to be the golden girl, that I need to be the best, that I need to one up. Um, and I am so much more conscious of it today that I feel very comfortable being one of the crowd and not having to be the star of everything. But that wasn't me before. I didn't even know that that was a compulsion of my personality before. And so I've noticed today that I say a lot of times why I share that, because I was just going to say why I share that. So that's a connector word. Do I want to keep that? I don't know, but that's just some awareness that I'm noticing today in my language. Um, but I share that because just to give some perspective around this person's experience with me. But what ended up happening is that relationship. One day, I went off and I shared all the ways in which they were affecting me, uh, and all the ways in which I wasn't going to continue in the relationship. And ironically enough, the person was done with me as well. So it's like once I set this person free, they wanted to set me free. And so I can almost guarantee, unless you are regularly doing a hygienic uh, cleaning of your relationships and analyzing them and cleaning them up, there's probably a relationship that you can think of that isn't serving you anymore, and it's time to let them go. But I am here to serve as a guide to you. And so just because you may know that you need to do something doesn't mean it's time or that you want to. So you are able to live your life however you want to live your life. You have free will. So what I would encourage everybody to do, and I had to do, was define what friendship looks like for you. What does friendship look like for me? And I don't have anything written. Um, And I'm so excellent at making friends now. And I will say most of my friends aren't ones that I'm texting a bunch during the day or calling. I probably send a text message every other day. I'm not a huge texter. I don't seek that type of energy in relationships. So what I seek in friendships normally is a lot of times just in a uh just a bumping in of someone at a coffee line or out walking my dog. Because to me, when I think of friendship, okay, so let's go into these core values. Easy for me, friendships are easy. Friendships offer a connection that I'm seeking. That's what friendships do. Friendships offer depth. That's important for me. Like if I'm talking to somebody and we're just talking about, I don't know, let's say they're complaining, even if it's somebody I just met. If you're going to come to me with complaints, I have no capacity for that. I don't care if you're somebody that I've known for years and that I work with, or that you are a friend of mine. Complaints, I just do not have capacity for them. So, what I do have capacity for is feelings. If you were to call me and say that you were feeling sad or feeling, again, whatever the feeling is, scared, I am there. But if you're going to call me to complain about something that somebody did and avoid the root of what you're actually feeling, which that's when people complain, there's something that attacked their ego. They felt slighted, they felt marginalized, they have anger. Talk about what you're feeling, not displacement of the feelings. So, um, so authenticity is going to be required. Depth is going to be required. Freedom. Freedom. There's something that I learned years ago when I was seeing a counselor, and uh, many of you may be aware of this, but there's something, I can hear my dog snoring. Hi, Pookie Bear. And they're called attachment styles. And what I have learned is that there are 3 of them. And hi, baby. There are 3. The first is stable, which is just how it sounds. And good on you for being stable. Uh, uh, I wonder how that belief system, that perception of reality is created. There's anxious and then avoidant. And sometimes you can be a combination of the 2. I'm a combination of the 2. I was a combination of the 2. Anxious is just how it sounds. There's an anxiety associated to the relationship and perceivably the loss of the relationship or the augmentation, the change of a relationship. And so the best example, and then we have avoidant, which is like, I am so uncomfortable. I am so uncomfortable with the potential level of intimacy or the potential abandonment that you may provide in this relationship, that I'm just not going to even engage at all. Or I may even create scenarios that create a bigger divide between the 2 of us so that I can ultimately say, see, I told you so. You were going to leave. And so how that would show up, the anxious in a relationship is like, let's say you just met somebody. Let's say it's a romantic interest. That's what would show up for me. And I get that we're talking about friendships, but we're ultimately right now talking about attachment styles. And let's say you just met somebody, and the anxious attachment style is going to be the one that is texting 10 times more than you would ever be texting if you were actually in that relationship. Verifying, are you there? Are you there? Are you there? Hey, what are you up to? What are you doing now? What are you doing now? I'm doing this, and just constant need for engagement. The avoidant is just how it sounds. Somebody texts, you get the text message. And I know this one because I played this one. And for me, I would keep track. I would say, okay, so they sent me a text last. So it's, I have the power now. So I get to decide when I'm going to text them because, it goes 1 for 1. Again, who makes up these rules? I did. And so, but I would think about what I wanted to send 1,000 times before I actually sent it. And so, um, and then if the other person was trying to reach out to me, I would avoid them altogether, particularly if they shared that they liked me in some capacity. Then I was running for the hills. That was just too much intimacy that I did not know how to process. And let's say it was somebody that I didn't have a romantic interest in. I did not know how to say, I do not have a romantic interest in you. I am flattered, but I do not have a romantic interest in you. So, so it would be helpful for you to understand, do I have a stable, an anxious, or an avoidant attachment style? Because I can almost guarantee those types of behaviors are going to manifest in your friendships as well. So we're writing, where we're at is outlining or defining what is a friend. How does friendship feel for me? How does, and maybe, I know for myself, I used to know what it wouldn't feel like. That was something that I was very quick to know what I didn't like. Um, and so let's say you're unsure what you're seeking, but you know what you don't like. knowing what you don't like can be just as helpful. Write out that list and then create the positive, create the inverse of your statement. So, um, I, let's say for me, what would be something that I don't want? I don't want to be, I don't even know how to say this, so this is good for me. Okay. I don't like when, no, this is okay. This is testing me here. What I wanted to say was I don't like when people are needy. That's not true though. If I have friends that need me, I want to be there for them. So I, oh, okay. I don't like codependent relationships. That's what I don't like. So I like relationships where people remain independent and free. That's cool. I'm good with that. I like people who are independent. That's cool. All right. So I knew what I didn't want. So now I create the inverse of I want people who are independent. It's beautiful. So we're defining what friendships are. And so once you start to be clear of what a friendship is for you and what that definition is like, then we're going to move into the inventory of our friendships. What meets the requirements and what doesn't meet the requirements. And this is what I notice a lot in my meetings with people. 99.9% of the time, they know what they need to do in a relationship, but just haven't found the way to do it just yet. And this is what I know to be true. Sometimes you just got to do things with a bang. Sometimes we just don't have the skills to do things gracefully. But the more that and what I mean by that is the first time that you end a relationship, I can almost guarantee one of two things will happen, or maybe both. You're going to lose your fucking shit. There's going to be so much potential buildup of animosity in this relationship that when you finally go to speak it, you've had so much energy that you've been pushing down and pushing down and pushing down that you're going to like not even be in your limbic system and just and go off. This is what you got to be ready for. If there's an imbalance in the relationship from your end, I can guarantee there's going to be an imbalance in the relationship from their end. It's almost impossible for there not to be. They're probably going to have some feedback for you too. This is like an excellent practice also in apologies. Let's say you want to go apologize to somebody for something. Be ready for them to be seeking some apology potentially too. That maybe there's a way in which you wronged them or did something that you don't even know about that they need you to apologize for. But we're talking about friendships now. So you outlined friendship and what a friend means to you. Now we're taking inventory on your current relationships, and we have discerned that there's one that's out of balance. And so we're breaking down what could happen with that one that's out of balance. And again, if you go to so we have discerned that there's one that's out of balance. There's a couple of options in relationship to that relationship. There's three that I can think of. The first is you end it. The first may be that the relationship has run its course. The relationship has run its course, and it is time for that relationship to end. The second is that you may go to this person and seek them, share with them a behavior that has been manifesting that is no longer in alignment with friends. And so you're going to ask for them to alter some aspect of themselves. And it may be This is a vow that I've made recently is I no longer am complaining and I no longer accept complaining. So you may go to this friend and because maybe you guys maybe that was what you did together is you got together and you fucking talked about people. I've had relationships like that, you know? So maybe that's what your relationship was founded on, and now you don't wanna gossip about people, and so you wanna stay in a relationship with this person, in a friendship, but that aspect is going to die. So you're not only sharing with them that, you are changing, but that you're requiring them to as well. If you wanna stay in this relationship, this is what I'm seeking, AKA a boundary. And so that could also be an option. And then the third is utter acceptance. There are some relationships that you may have that the person has some sort of trait or behavior. And I can think of a couple of friends in my life that you can't change anybody ever. You cannot change anybody ever. Even when I'm counseling folks or coaching individuals, I could tell somebody, go do this, go do this, go do this. That doesn't mean they're going to do it. Um, my job is to serve as a mirror. Hey, these are some behaviors I'm noticing. How are these affecting you? Would you like to have some different behaviors? What would it feel like to have some different behaviors? How would that alter your life? Cool. Well, how can we implement some of these different behaviors? And so, um, acceptance is literally like to me is the greatest state of reverence and grace and just understanding that things are how they are and you have no desire or want to change how they are and that you're going to accept things for how they are. So, um, we've defined friend. We're taking inventory of our friendships. We have some options related to at least three options related to a friendship that is potentially out of balance. Or there's some new behavior that you are implementing, some new boundary that you're implementing, you're evolving. And so you've got to go now to some friendships because the base or a dimension of that friendship is no longer in alignment with who you are. Um, I really want to touch on freedom because when I think of friendship, I really I think of love, and when I think of love, I think of freedom. Cuz when you love someone, you know that they could leave at any point, that that, you know, nobody is promised tomorrow, and that I choose to love you regardless of that potential pain that could be existing there. There's a lot of vulnerability in friendships as well. And, you know, it requires some peeling back of the onion to really have the depth of connection that most of us, my guides just said that all of us actually desire in a friendship. And I'm going to give you an example. When I go into work, or really when I'm anywhere, I'm not one that regularly says, "How are you?" In the sense of a lot of times you see somebody and instead of saying like good morning, how are you is kind of interchangeable with, okay, I don't know what I just said. How are you, at least where I live, is very interchangeable with good morning. It's almost like they're not even seeking an actual response to the how are you, or it's like just good is oh, good, fine, good. And so I started to alter the way in which I even would greet somebody because sometimes I don't have the capacity or desire to actually hear how you're doing. And I get I don't care how that sounds. I get that that might sound rude or dismissive, but it's not my job or responsibility to care how you are. Sometimes though I do. And normally when I want to know how someone's doing is I can tell that something is off. Now, when I say something's off, sometimes people are just in a bad mood. And it happens. I work at a restaurant in the evenings. And so the example that I'll give is like sometimes people get a poor tip. And maybe you're watching this in a country that doesn't tip, but I live off of tips. I make more money in tips per hour than I do my hourly wage. But I know that sometimes people don't tip and then sometimes people wait, it's a balance. It's an ebb and a flow. And so sometimes though people can get really frustrated. And in those moments, I don't ask how someone's doing because here's the deal. You got to let them wallow in it sometimes. They're frustrated. They know how to get out of the frustration, and nothing, and I mean nothing that I do is going to get somebody out of a state of frustration. So I don't even play that game. When I see somebody huffing and puffing, I'm like, cool, dude, I can huff and puff too. I'm going to let them air it out. And then once they've calmed down, I'll say, hey, dude, what was going on earlier? Then I'll seek to engage. Or if I can tell somebody's energy's lower, or they're like last night, for example, one of the server assistants, they help servers. They are like they are amazing people. And allow me to do my job and create a positive experience for the guests. But I could tell he just kind of got his energy switched. So I let him be for about an hour, and at the end, the shift was coming to an end, and I was like, "Hey, dude, your energy changed." And somebody might say your mood, but for me, I said energy. Your energy changed about an hour. Are you okay? And I don't even like to say, "Are you okay?" And because that's a yes or no question. Are you okay? Yes. Versus, hey, what's going on? That requires more. That's an open-ended question. But when you go, I guess I'm just teaching some manners of friendship as well. But when you go to ask somebody how they are, be ready to listen. Because how this person responded, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm everything's fine." And I was like, "Yeah, dude, but what happened like an hour ago?" And he's like, "Well, he works 2 jobs." And he's like, "Well, tomorrow's my double day. Tomorrow's the day where I work both jobs. And I work really early at one of my jobs, and I'm not a morning person." He actually works at a gym, and so he said it's been crazy busy with 2024, and people wanting to alter their bodies or their relationship with their bodies. And so he was thinking about the day that he was going to have today, and it was going to be like a really long one for him. And I was like, dude, I'm fucking sorry. And he's like, you don't have to be sorry. And I was like, well, of course I don't, but I can empathize with that experience. Um, and I hope that your morning goes really smoothly. And, I can't wait to see you tomorrow night. And so even now in my interactions that I do have with people, is if I'm going to ask you how you're doing, it's because I mean it and I'm listening. And it's not that I'm asking a question waiting so I can just interject something about my day or interject something about my feelings. Because here's the other thing. If I am feeling some sort of way and I would like to talk to somebody about it, I would say to that person, hey, do you have a couple minutes? I'm going through something and I just wanted to speak out loud the thoughts that have been going on inside my head, because I can feel anxiety building, or I can feel some sadness starting to build. And so I just want to talk to somebody about it. Uh, and so as opposed to, I used to like pussyfoot around, uh, how would I describe that? Give me a moment. It's coming. It's like, oh, it's almost here. I don't have a really good example, but the one that comes to mind is that it's like with that person when they ask you how you're doing, only to cut you off while you're sharing how you're doing to share with you what happened in their day. They had no intention or authentic curiosity around how your day was going. They just wanted to share how their day was going. They needed to project that energy. They didn't know how to transmute it themselves. And uh and they didn't know how to ask for your time. And so, that would go into programming, and it would go into how were relationships mirrored for you as a child. And so without you stepping back and taking some inventory, um, we get into these autopilot existences where the soul knows that something's off. The body does as well, but we don't even know what it is because we're just going. So, where are we at here? We're talking about friendships. We're talking about creating new boundaries within relationships based off of our definition of what friendship is. And then I moved into what friendship would look like for me just in engaging with people. Um, and I guess the takeaway from that would be is just S listen more, talk less. I think that's a really helpful skill for anybody. Listen more, talk less. Because a lot of times too, what I observe in relationships, and I see them all the time because I wait tables. So I see these collectives of people all the time, is a lot of times people just have an inner monologue that they're speaking. "Oh, I gotta go do this, and I gotta go do this," and they're just speaking externally what's going on internally. It's not even a conversation with another person necessarily. I mean, you are requiring the other person will even look, and somebody will say, "Oh, sorry, I was just talking out loud." That's a common one. But I see that a lot. I would just be curious if I could implore anything is to just be really specific around what you're feeling, what you want to speak, and what you're feeling, and uh, um, avoid topics like gossip and complaining that will lead you to nothing but sadness, undue sadness. And at the root of that is just projection. And so, if one of my favorite stories, and it's not a pretty story, but it had such a resonance with me, is from one of my favorite books called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And he's written a lot of different books, but this one started my awakening. And the first agreement is being impeccable with your word. And the premise behind it is, we don't even pick our names. And one of the first words that we learn is no, because somebody is trying to take away our freedom. And uh, one of the stories that he goes on to share is um, this woman went out and bought a new dress. And she loved the dress so much that she ended up spending hours getting ready. She did her hair and her makeup, and she went to go meet up with a girlfriend. And the first thing that the girlfriend says to her is, "Ugh, you look like you have cancer." Now, the woman who said that has never felt beautiful a day in her life. So she was projecting her own emotional inner workings onto her friend. Think about that. That's a friend that you would like in your life. So the woman who spoke that has never felt beautiful a day in her life. And the woman who heard it, who never thought of cancer ever in her entire life, succumbs to it a year later, because that is how powerful the brain is. And so be really careful who you give your energy to and how you share your energy, because it is, albeit we are limitless and we are infinite, we don't need to be mixing with low vibrations like that. It's like There's this lady that where I work, we have to park really far away. I work at a casino and we have to park in a really far away parking lot. So far away that I mean, it's not super far, maybe a half a mile. Um, which isn't bad. I walk miles a night, but there's a lot of rain in the greater Seattle area. And so there's a shuttle that's provided. Is it always running? Sometimes they're on break. I mean, for whatever reason, it seems to be a hard position to fill. So sometimes it's just not even running. And there is this woman who apparently she just got promoted to customer. Um, it's like a funny joke on the sense she was fired. She can now she's promoted to customer. But whenever I would get into the shuttle, the first thing she'd have her phone in her hand and she'd go, and she'd put her phone down. Okay, you're here, you're listening. What did that person just solicit? They just solicited a lot with just a sigh and then the plopping of their cell phone, right? What are they soliciting? Ask me what's going on, right? That's like the unspoken energy there, right? Ugh. Hey, what's going on? I just wouldn't respond. And then about 30 seconds later, she would start telling me what's going on. I don't fucking care about the fact that your son stole this and your husband is this and drama. I just don't care. So when she would go on to share her stories, I just wouldn't respond. I wouldn't give energy to something that I didn't want to give energy to. And so I just want to give you permission. And so okay, you may be sitting there going, Tiffany, I could never not respond to somebody. You could, but I get that that might be a little bit awkward for you. So, um, let me give you some ways to respond to that. So let's say you engage with somebody, and this happened the other day. Dude, this is a perfect example. The other day, where the fuck was I? Where were we? Where were we? Oh, there's a smoothie place in town, and it opens at 10 o'clock. Lies. Next to the smoothie place is a Papa Murphy's, and I was getting a Papa Murphy's take and bake, but I had showed up right when they opened. And a few minutes before they opened, actually. And so I'm just standing outside the door. It gets to be 11 o'clock or whatever time they opened. And now this woman has joined me. And they didn't open at 11 o'clock or whatever the open time was. And then it gets to be 11:01. And the first thing this fucking lady says to me is, you think it, how did she say it? It was so fucking condescending. What a shocker. People can't even get to work on time. How difficult is it to open on time? It's like, damn. Like, maybe the worker's mom died, dude. Like, you don't know, you have no idea what somebody is experiencing. Maybe there's normally 3 workers and 2 of them called out. And so now one of these workers is doing 3 people's work. You do not know what is going on. Do not make assumptions. That's it. Like, I think that's the second agreement in the 4 agreements. Do not make assumptions. I just looked at this lady and I said, I don't accept that. Like, she kind of like did a look at me, but it's like, lady, I do not, we've never met. And the first thing you're going to do is complain and make some snarky comment about some minimum wage worker. And they opened a minute late. And the first thing the girl goes is like, I am so sorry. And I was like, that is a more than okay. So one thing that you can share with someone is, I do not accept that. I do not accept that. Another one that I used to use when I didn't know how to volley the energy back was, what is your intention with that comment? What is your intention with that comment? So, let's see here. The one final thing that I want to leave you with is authenticity promotes authenticity. So the more authentic that you can be in your relationships, the more authentic relationships will present themselves. It's like it's like a rule. The more loving you are to yourself, the more loving somebody else would be to you. So let's see here. What I know is that you deserve love. You deserve friendships that are whatever you want them to be. And that one of my favorite quotes is God, friends are God's way of taking care of us. And, friendships don't need to be year upon year upon year relationships. You could meet someone and just go have fun for the day. And so just be open to, once you put parameters and establish what a friend is to you, allow the universe to start to create some of those relationships, those connections. And just know that some of it may be in the form of the fact that a relationship needs to end. That very well could be the what needs to happen. And so, but I know now what these really yummy connections feel like. And if I had known, I just didn't have the skills then, so to say that I have regret, no regret whatsoever. Um, but had I known uh, how to love myself, or that these types of relationships that I can have with another could feel and look and taste and touch and like they do today. I mean, one of my favorite parts of the day is getting to meet someone I've never met before. I sincerely, I love that part. So you deserve to have that too. So thank you so much for watching today on friendship, on the definition of a friend and defining that, and some options of, uh, uh, how to create balance in your relationships. If you have any questions, please put them below. I would love to connect with you uh, and answer some questions for you, maybe that you're struggling with associated to friendship, or maybe there's another topic that you would like me to talk about. Please share that with me as well. Let's see here. Is there anything else? Just wanted to share that I am live on Thursdays as well. Thursdays, it is at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard. And on Thursdays, I do live channeled readings with Spirit. And so, a couple of things. If you would like to, on Sundays is when I interview folks that have some sort of story or spiritual dimension of themselves they'd like to share. On Thursdays is when I do live channeled readings. If you're interested in either of those, please contact me and let's connect. Making these changes in your life, specifically related to friendship, may seem insurmountable, but there is no time like the present. And I believe in you. You have everything that you need to be successful. And success is determined by your own parameters. But in this lifetime, you have everything inside of you. Okay. I love you very much. We'll see you next time.